Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Systematic Business episode. Today I'm going to be talking to Renee, and I would want you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your history.
Hello, Alexei. I'm happy to be here. So my name is Dr. Renee Fraser. I'm a social psychologist running an advertising and marketing firm. We've been around for 27 years and we're about 15 to $20 million right now
Oh,
in
it's
size.
nice, nice. So, how did you end up where you are now? Obviously, you started from somewhere, right? And then you
Right.
moved
I,
through life, through the
yeah,
challenges along the way. So, it would be fascinating to learn.
unusual pathway, although I'm sure you hear this from a lot of people. It's a combination of luck and preparation, right? Preparation and
Hmm.
opportunity really make luck happen. I started out expecting to be a professor. I have a PhD in social psychology,
Hmm.
and I never expected to be in the advertising business. My dad was in that business, and I visited on a daughters to work day and thought, geez, all these people are so smart and creative. Why aren't they fixing the world instead of selling chewing gum and shampoo and all kinds of other wonderful products?
Hmm.
Well, lo and behold, I got the PhD in psychology. I married one of the professors and realized somebody had to make real money, get out into the world. So I went into market research because my psychology theory gave me a lot of tools to understand the
Hmm.
mindset and the psyche of people. I then got elevated to run a division of a major agency called Bozell and Jacobs, part of True North. I was the only woman running a division. It was the Pacific region, which is interesting, visiting Japan as a female, etc.
Hmm.
But I found that PhD was elevated my status, and I even went on to teach at USC on a side gig in
Hmm.
the Annenberg School of Masters. But I started my own ad agency after I left the big agency, and I thought maybe 4 or 5 years, but it's turned into 25 years and a success. But I'll tell you the other thing that happened, Alexi. When I started my own firm, I realized I'd sold a lot of video games, uh, Sega, Nintendo, a lot of
Hmm.
motorcycles, a lot of beer. I thought, well, let's shift and try to do some good things for the world, use communications to make the world a better place. And that's been
Hmm.
our focus for the entire 25 years.
No, it's great. Yeah, it's fascinating. I'm right now again. I'm in the trading business. It's all about psychology. It literally
Mhm.
is nothing else but psychology. The whole market is all just one giant psychology of how people think and
Right,
fear of missing out, or fear of losing, or
right.
all kinds of basically based on fears and euphoria and things like that. So it's all very similar. So yeah, it's interesting that yeah, it's like marketing is pretty much again psychology. Advertising is all psychology. It's this is how you can succeed. Yeah, it's fascinating. So, but obviously along the way, you had all kinds of things happening for your business, right? So you grew from, because right now you said what, a 15 to 20 million right now
Yeah,
is a company. You probably started from half a million, maybe even less, right, at the
zero.
beginning.
Right,
So how,
right.
so yeah, so as you grow, how did you, I mean, first you probably did some sporadic things, but then you had to organize it. So that's the business portion of the systematic. Like, how did you systematize it?
Yeah, I started off very broad, right, as you might expect, with all the contacts I have.
Mm-hmm.
But then I quickly realized I had to systematize my efforts. We went after health. We handled the largest healthcare systems in Southern California,
Mm-hmm.
UCLA, Cedar
Okay.
Sinai. We got deep expertise in that area. And then we broadened that specifically to public health, to
Mm-hmm.
government entities. The other area that we decided to focus in and systematize was sustainability. This again was 25 years ago. California was suffering from a shortage of electricity. There
Mm-hmm.
was a
Yep. Yep.
statewide effort called Flex Your
Mm-hmm.
Power. We were involved in that and created a whole campaign getting people to reduce their use of electricity. We were
Mm-hmm.
successful, about 26% of reduction. And I saw also opportunities in the utility sector. We were also had to save water. Southern California is an arid climate. We don't have natural water. We're in a desert.
Mm-hmm.
But people wanted green lawns and flowers from the
Yeah.
East
Yeah.
Coast, right? And from Europe.
Yeah.
So we had to learn to do something which we called be water wise. And in fact, 25 years later, people are still using Be Water Wise and the website we created, obviously been adapted. It was ways people could save water. turning off faucets, believe it or not, and turning off leaky pipes, etc., and collecting rain even makes a difference. As
Hmm.
you probably know, in the sustainability arena, small steps by millions of people actually add up to a big difference. So we
Yeah.
got very good at getting people to change their behavior with messaging.
Hmm.
One of the campaigns I'm most proud of is Arnold Schwarzenegger was our governor at the time,
Hmm.
and we created gnomes. You know, people how they have gnomes in their yards, little garden
Hmm.
gnomes.
Yeah.
Well, the gnomes were talking, and one of them had an Austrian accent and talked about pumping and how important it was to not water other people's yards, to keep your water on your lawn as opposed to allowing it to run off, etc. And it was very effective. So using even humor to get people to adjust their behavior.
Hmm.
That's where the psychology comes in. What's the mindset? Some people are cost conscious. Some people want the earth to be preserved. Other people are thinking about themselves and what a hassle it is. And humor can convince them, okay, I guess I could do that. So it
Hmm.
was very successful in terms of the kinds of messaging, because that's the other place we systematize. We had to think about what kind of messaging will work for what audiences and match them up.
Hmm. Okay. And as you grow again as a company, you probably have more and more different things that you do, not just, let's say, California, but it was 25 years ago. But now you probably do, how many customers you have at any given moment?
We have
Uh,
14 to 15. We have regular,
hmm.
they're large customers, because after I did sustainability, the conservation work, and the health work, both those continued. Then we added automotive. We got
Hmm.
in the door at Toyota. This is about 18 years ago. And we started with research. That's really one of our strengths. I'm a psychologist. We learn how to do research to understand
Hmm.
consumer insights. And we did that work for Toyota. It was so well appreciated and so clever. They said, turn it into creative. How would you amplify this through media? So we competed against their big ad agency. In the case of Toyota, it's Saatchi, and we won it. And then for 11 years, we handled advertising for Toyota on a national basis. And since
Hmm.
then, we've been introduced to other components. We did a wonderful program for Lexus to educate the associates on how to be more welcoming to
Hmm.
women who make most of the car decisions, right? And also to people from different countries, because about almost 40% of their customers are from other areas. They identify as Asian American, African American, etc. So we
Hmm.
help them understand how do you make it welcoming. They have something called the covenant, which is to treat people as if they were a guest in your home, and they call all of their customers guests.
Hmm.
So we took a deep dive and said, here's the way you need to treat someone from Vietnam or China when they bring their older family members in, and how you should respond and respect them, appreciate
Hmm.
them. Same thing with the other segments. So automotive grew for us, and we also have the opportunity to work with Hyundai and others. So
Yeah.
systematically looking at a category, getting really good at it, understanding it from a obviously a trend and a financial basis, but also the psychology of the customers, and
Yeah.
then taking
Yeah.
those insights forward and developing campaigns and initiatives.
Yeah, because there are different cultures, especially, I mean, I had to deal with my professional life with Toyota as well. And that was not the Toyota Automotive, that it was Toyota, what's it called? I mean, they have these forklifts and all that stuff. I forgot what it's called. Basically, it's the different subdivision within the Toyota. But ooh, they were really different level of culture, because American culture is one way. They have a completely different culture. So
Yeah, yeah.
getting them to buy into your ideas is completely different, even and on
You
that
know,
level. Yeah.
yeah, what it takes really is framing it, right?
Yeah.
Framing it in something that's relevant to them as opposed to, oh, I see it this way, so everybody will see it that way.
Yeah.
And I've been to Japan several times and given speeches there, so I've really studied how they see the American consumer and how seriously they take the manufacturing and the innovation that they do.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's not driven by quarterly results. It's really, Mr. Toyota had said this, it's about creating happiness for people,
Hmm.
finding a need that meets the needs in their lives.
Hmm.
Automotive vehicles are conveyances, but ultimately you want people to feel really confident in the safety, the reliability, and the happiness that they achieve as a result of your vehicle. I always admire that because it was such a noble goal as opposed to make an excellent car, and make good money off of it.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
beyond that. And that's driven a lot of their decision making.
Yeah, and again, consumers love reliability, and that's
Mhm.
usually what Toyota is. It's like associated with reliability. It's going to run. It's going to be 200,000 miles. It still
Right,
runs, right? That's pretty much what everyone expects.
right.
Unfortunately, for American companies, it's not the same expectation.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
oh, out of warranty, I think it's done. Kind of
Well,
a
and
different approach. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
In American capitalism, there's a lot of obsolescence built into products.
Yeah.
So you buy the newest one. And
Yeah.
of course, that is not true for the Japanese. They have a number of Japanese concepts. One is omonotanashi, which is about being really welcoming to people and thinking about them as opposed to yourself.
Hmm.
Obviously, the idea of constant improvement. That's one we've embraced as a company. How do we make ourselves better? Never sitting on your laurels, but reviewing and making sure you can improve what you're doing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And exactly the logical question for your business: how do you do these improvements, and how do you manage the risk that can come up? Because again, different cultures, different strategies, different things that are happening at all times, like different customers pulling you in different directions. So how do you
Yeah.
manage the risks?
Yeah. Well, part of it was the original business plan, which in my case was to focus on ongoing retainer clients, not projects.
Hmm.
I also had to early on eliminate certain clients. We don't handle startups. I found they didn't
Mm.
always pay their bills, right? So we had to be very focused on where do we make a difference? Where can we be differentiated and valuable to which clients? So being systematic about identifying clients. The other
Hmm.
thing was knowing that there's going to be ups and downs. We went through COVID. We've gone through some serious down periods in 2008, 2009, the recession. In my
Hmm.
business, what I find is it hits me 2 to 3 years later is when I have
Mm.
the bad year.
Hmm.
So I also have to put money aside for those times so we can manage through. And the other
Hmm.
thing I do to moderate the risk is I double down on new business. I increase the visibility in the community. I started a radio show and a podcast
Hmm.
in Southern California. I increased my speaking engagements. I increased the visibility of the company. I hired salespeople. So you have to be very on top of it, and you've got to be proactive. You don't
Hmm.
wait for everything to fall apart. As soon as you see it happening, you have to take aggressive action.
That's actually an interesting idea. But yeah, you're right. I mean, sometimes it is in delayed mode. That's kind of like a tidal, the not the tsunami, right? First the water recedes, you're like all happy, but then it will come back with viciously, right? So the same thing for you. Like you had the economy went down, so apparently for you it's gonna come back viciously a little bit later down the road, right? Not
That's right.
immediately, right?
That's right. Well,
Yeah,
and I think
interesting. Yeah,
about,
yeah.
we're in November 2025. The bull market's been a long time coming, so is it gonna last? We'll have to see. So,
Hmm.
and how do you prepare for that? I'm sure you
Yeah.
folks are looking at that very carefully.
Well, that is why for us we're doing systematic trading. So there are specific rules, specific systems which handle all that deliberately, so that we are ready whatever comes next. It may not be exactly the same as, let's say, the bubble.com, the .com bubble, sorry, or like a financial crisis 2008. But who knows what's going to happen? But you need to be prepared. That's why it's a systematic part. That's why I keep asking you about systematic part,
Right.
because that's the
Makes sense.
fascinating part, which leads to the most important part is, yes, you're ready for the bad stuff, but what about the good stuff? How do you handle the good stuff? Because the good stuff also happens, right? So,
Yes. Yeah. What's been really important with the good stuff is to celebrate with the employees.
mm, yeah.
People will meet me and they'll assume it's all me. I said, well, there's 20 people that make this happen. And you and I both know it really takes great people to get the work done. We're
Hmm.
all remote now, which is a challenge. We've let everyone be remote. And I've
Hmm.
taken a position with the remote work. Well, that means I'm trusting you to get all the work done. I'm
Hmm.
giving you the opportunity to do it when you feel you can, but you've got to meet the deadlines. And there needs to be camaraderie and collaboration. Let's find ways to create that. So we're
Hmm.
in the office once a month, but I want to stimulate that to help us be more proactive and brainstorm and creative. To answer your question, though, celebrations are really important. Have
Hmm.
the birthday celebrations, have the champagne when we win something, acknowledge people, even for small things. I think particularly with remote, I've got to acknowledge people for getting the deck done, for making that call, for getting
Mm-hmm.
that meeting. You've got to be very aware of the small things that add up to a great deal and celebrate the successes. My recommendation is not to go out and spend it all, to put some of it
Yeah.
aside
Yeah.
when you're
Yeah.
successful so you can have it in the future. And we also do a 401k, where we've been able to match and share some of the proceeds.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an important
So
part.
there's a financial
Yeah.
component as well, right? But besides financial, yeah, we're still all humans. We still need to be recognized.
Yes.
We need to belong, right? You need to be as if it's a family instead of just a transactional activity, right? You need
Right.
to feel like a family, right?
That's what we hope.
That's right.
That's exactly what we hope.
Yeah, I also have only remote employees right now. I mean, we don't have that many as you, but they're all remote. I'm working from home. I mean, you can see it. I'm
Hmm.
at home right now, not in the office. That's my office.
Yeah.
So I work from home. I only have remote
Yeah.
people. So, but that's absolutely right. But to switch the gears to completely different thing, completely different topic, because again, my audience is about the systematic trading, right? So
Right.
it's all about investments. So on your side, how do you think about systematic investments for you personally or your company? I don't know, again, which one you wanted to talk about, but that's pretty much the interesting question. How do you handle your investments, basically?
Well, I'll talk about the company first and then my personal investments. On the company side, I apply a process of research for background,
Mm-hmm.
assessment of my values, what's important to me, and then an action plan. So, in terms of the research, I watch for trends and changes. For example, and our values, as I mentioned. There's a big emphasis on data analytics that's happening in my industry. We're now 80% digital in our buying. It used to
Mm-hmm.
be outdoor, radio, television,
Mm-hmm.
influencers, obviously social and digital media. Social and digital have taken over the majority. Analytics, even more important. So we've invested in software and engineers to create a proprietary data analytics system that we can utilize as a company.
Mm-hmm.
That'll give us a strategic edge. So I make investments based on what's relevant to the time, but what also aligns with our values. I mentioned the market research and the insights, the PhD. All of that speaks to being very research driven, very evidence based.
Mm-hmm.
Some people in my arena are more creative, big ideas, cool ideas, uh, cultural trend analysis, and then just go for it. We'll do that, but we do it all within the context of research. And so the
Mm-hmm.
analytic investment was a smart investment based on the values of the company and the
Mm-hmm.
trends that we saw.
So you allocate the budget basically for your life for research. Okay. Yeah.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. And a fairly expensive or a set aside for tools of that nature. We're now looking at
Mm-hmm.
AI tools to invest in as well to make us
Mm-hmm.
more
Yep.
efficient, but also to give us some of those insights. We're evaluating those as well for investment purposes next year.
Mm-hmm. And but you said about your personal
On the personal
investments. Yeah.
side, I'm
Yeah.
probably not as systematic as you'd like it to be. I'm going to
That's
have
what I hear a lot, by the way, from a lot of business owners. They're really systematized about the business, but when it comes to the personal finance, they, for some reason, they're less,
yes,
I don't know, less systematic about. Let's put it
less
this way.
systematic.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I have to say, on the investment side too, there are a lot of tools, right? If you invest your money with certain organizations, they have aggressive
Mm-hmm.
and growth models, et cetera. So they apply their own systems to it. And to your earlier point, as a business owner, I've got a family, I've got my own self-care to be able to put time aside to manage my investments
Mm-hmm.
at the level of intensity that I'd want to do it. I don't have the time. But
Mm-hmm.
what I have done, it's probably not a surprise, is in my business, I see Google, I see Meta, I see NVIDIA. So I put a majority of my investments into tech stocks that I know from my personal work, my company, we pay those people a lot of money. That
Mm-hmm.
$15 million I mentioned, a majority of that goes out to the media companies,
Mm-hmm.
writing checks to Google for about 400, 500,000 every other month. That
Yeah.
kind of that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So I invest in areas that I see growth in. I do a lot of reading, and I keep track of where I see the growth opportunities and try to be systematic in that way. The other thing I've done that is probably obvious is balance. I have real estate, I have investments, I have cash.
Hmm.
And then I've
Yeah.
also invested in a number of startups myself, hoping that some of those will come to
Pan
fruition.
out. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. But do you see any challenges in this? I mean, obviously you're already kind of mentioning the challenges, but any other challenges that you can think of
I
with your
think,
investments or even company investments?
yeah, the knowing enough about the companies, I try to read the annual reports to get a sense of where they're going. And when I read Meta, it really was insightful for my company, not just for me as an investor. And I do believe there's a lot of uncertainty that they're facing with Trump. What I think is happening with the tech companies is they're playing to his ego and supporting him. So regulation's probably not on the horizon. And
Hmm.
that means there'll be more growth. Using digital, we know how powerful it is, how much data they mine for all of us. Third
Hmm.
party data, it's anonymous. But that's how they know to send you ads, re-send you ads. Right now, you drive by a billboard, they know you have your phone. They can send the ad to your phone after you pass the billboard. And they can track if you walk across the threshold and buy something at the place that was advertised on the billboard. So
Hmm.
they can keep track of it. There's a lot going on below the surface, and it's important to keep track of that. The other thing that I think is a challenge is how AI will be used and how to use
Hmm.
it effectively for my business. There are many, many companies coming out of the woods with ad tech, ed tech, fintech, et cetera. And I have to be very thoughtful about how we evaluate those. And I asked some of my employees to do that as well and to use the AI, but I could see a lot of consternation and worry because it will replace jobs.
Yeah.
So rather than
Yeah.
embrace it fully and find a way to use it, there's a hesitation and a lot of uh, uncertainty that people
Yeah.
feel right away. So that's
But if you
one
think,
challenge.
yeah, yeah, if you think back, it's almost the same thing that at the beginning of 20th century, that was the industrial revolution. The same exact thing
Right,
that, oh, that's it. All the farmers are going to be replaced.
right.
Not really. All the workers are going to be replaced. Not really. Then the internet came in, right? A
Yeah,
lot later. Ooh, the same problem. And actually, AI kind of reminds me of the dot-com bubble.
yeah.
And back in the 1995 through 2000,
Yes, I
the craze
remember.
about going into any company that has AI in it,
Yeah.
like everyone now it's AI. Over there it was like you had to have internet in it, and
Yes,
there's an
that's
internet in the name. That's it. Everyone will buy the stock for it.
right.
Feels the same way. So which inevitably it may mean that the crash will come,
Yeah,
right? When yes, there's legitimate companies like Nvidia and things that we know,
yeah,
but then there are some companies which are startup companies. They just have the name AI, and everyone just dumping money into them,
yeah, yeah.
somehow hoping that they will be as big as Google, right? But you never know which one is going to be next Google,
You
right
don't.
around the corner, right?
You don't.
So,
That's right.
and Google may fade away too. Like you never know. There are some companies like BlackBerry.
Yeah,
BlackBerry in 2008 or
yeah.
2007, before the iPhone came out, that was it. Everyone was using BlackBerry, and then these things came out,
Yep.
and that's it.
Replace it. Totally
Yeah,
disrupt.
don't I don't even know what the BlackBerry does these days, right? But they're still out there. They exist. It's just
Well,
not anymore the hot
you're right.
product that it used to be. So same
Yeah.
thing may happen with Microsoft, and still somehow they pull it through. They keep
I got a
finding
feeling.
ways to
I mean,
reinvent themselves,
they've
right?
also read the books, right? They know that
Yeah,
history. I think they're
yeah,
very astute about maintaining themselves. They may disassemble and unbundle,
yeah,
right, to allow innovation in different parts, and the government may force some of that. But you're right; it's uncertain times, and that's a concern. So
yeah.
and, I totally understand the notion of how you do when you've been through many of these, right, and you reflect on how did I handle it, what did I do wrong, what were the
Mm-hmm.
patterns.
Yeah,
That's the systemization, right? So that then you can apply that in the future, because you're absolutely right. In my industry, television is going to kill radio, people, and then
yeah,
of course
yeah,
streaming, now that we're streaming, but now you see ads on Hulu, Amazon, etc. So it
yeah,
all evolves. So the only other thing I'd say that's a challenge is dealing with younger generation, but that again is cyclical. I'll never forget
yep.
my Toyota client said, "Oh my gosh, millennials aren't driving; they're just using Uber and Lyft." And I said, "Wait till they have kids and pets. They're not going to want to go to Costco
Yeah,
in an Uber. They're going to want to have a big car. And sure enough, SUVs and
yeah,
crossovers dominate, right? To be able to
yeah,
pack them full.
yeah.
So I think we see these new generations, Generation Alpha, Generation Z, and people are concerned. We're doing our best to stay on top of those and even hiring them and collaborating with schools so we get
Hmm.
insights from young people.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. And so the last question I want to ask you for today's episode. So I know you're quite busy, so I don't want to hold you up too long. So if you were to systematize your investments the same way that you're systematizing your business, what would it look like? I know you're busy right now, but if in an ideal situation, how would you systematize it if it were up to you right now?
I would spend time studying the market dynamics, looking at the fundamentals,
Mm,
and understanding kind of where certain companies are. I'd probably narrow down my investments and be able to monitor and study those so that I could maximize the profit from those, and have to think through uh, where I see growth indicators and where I should pull back and what I should keep as a steady state. I used to have bonds as a steady component and then added equities on top of it. The bonds have so underperformed. I've just not felt I need that safety net. So
hmm
I'd still be in equities and not moving to derivatives or anything of that nature. I'd like to stay with what I understand. So I take
hmm
the time to really understand it and then monitor it. But I'd have to be doing that, I think, at least an hour to 2 hours every day. It would be part of the systematic reading and evaluating and studying what's
hmm
going on. But so it takes a time commitment. But I would be doing that if I didn't have this to operate and the radio show that I'm doing.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I mean, there are different ways of doing it. You don't have to actually spend that much hour because this is what we do. We do it in different ways. Again, I'm not trying to advertise about myself. It's more about that the fundamentals. I'm not against fundamentals, but what I am preaching and my business partner is preaching, we are doing the more of a technical analysis, but it's more on specific rules, and it's called systematic mechanical trading, meaning
Uh,
that it's automatically executed. So I'm spending literally, I pick up my phone, I look at it for 30 seconds, and that's my trading for the day. So that's all I need to do, right? So it's
wow.
a different story of how it's traded. Uh, this way, it's much easier over here on the psychology. So I
Yes.
don't have to keep thinking, did I make a wrong decision? Did I make a right decision? Do I need to get in? Do I need to get out? Do I need to buy? Do I need to sell? What do I do? Like, do I need to look at the derivatives? Not look at the derivatives. Like, no, you can just have specific rules which drive it for you, and it's much easier because I
I
can
love
do
that
whatever
idea.
whatever I need to do. Right? It's much easier to handle the world.
Yeah.
You can travel. You can be with your kids. You
Yeah.
can be with your company, or do whatever you need to do. And I am doing it for my company as well. So I would rather spend time on research of what's next to include,
Mm-hmm.
almost like what you were doing it for your research, right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus so plan ahead instead of fighting it in the moment for whatever is happening in the market right now.
That's
Like
important.
as we speak right now, the market is up. Okay, great. On Friday it was down, it was up. Like,
Right.
things can happen, right?
Yeah.
But I can just do my own stuff, concentrate on what I need to do instead of thinking about all kinds of fears
I
that are
like
flying
that.
through my head, right?
Yeah, you give
So
people peace of mind. They know
yeah,
that
that's the idea.
you're
Yeah,
operating and you've got a track record, right? And a performance that
yeah,
they can count on. That's the
yeah,
key, right? Because people want predictability.
yeah.
They want to know
Confidence that it will
confidence.
work for them, right? It's the
Mhm.
most important part because everyone else says, "Oh, I want to trade like you." But if I give you the system and if you try to trade and you will see the first bump in the road, you're gonna freak out, and because you don't have confidence that it will work for you.
Yeah.
I have years of confidence because I already saw it working. So that's another like psychology. Like, since you're a psychologist, you know the trick. It's like
Yes.
sometimes when you start something new and you see success first and then bump on the road, it's much easier versus you start and you see failure first and then you're trying to come back up.
Exactly right. It scares
So
people away. There's also cognitive
yeah,
dissonance. Even when you see success, then it goes down. You start to question yourself. Did I make the right
yeah,
decision? Is this
yeah.
really going to work? You have to stick with it. But it sounds like you have that track record and people see it. How long do you think it takes them to feel, all right, this is right for me? Is it 2 months, 3 months,
We've calculated it's 4 months.
4 months?
So, and that's why we deliberately slow it down because you can accomplish in 2 weeks but we deliberately slowed it down so that you can build up that confidence in 4 months. You can
Smart.
see the progression. You can see how it builds up on a system. So you can create a suite of systems. And
Mm,
as you combine it together, you start getting more confidence. Obviously, live trading is another story altogether. And that's, again, it has a next level up, because all the time as we go through, I keep telling them, how would you feel if this is going to happen for you while you're trading?
yeah.
But I look at the numbers, it look great. Yes, numbers always look great in the retrospect.
Yeah.
But in the real life, in the real environment, it's completely different story.
Yeah.
It's not what it looks like. It for you, it will be completely like it's a fight or flight
Yes.
response right in the moment, right? So you need to be more, you need to address it before that happens. So you need to try to understand what will happen, because once you are ready emotionally and internally, it's much easier to handle, and it's much easier to survive
Yeah.
anything that can be thrown at you, right? So that's why preparing research in your case is
Yes.
very beneficial, because again, you kind of anticipate, okay, this is what might happen, so you kind of play out a different
Exactly.
what if,
Yes.
and then once it comes, one of those what ifs materializes, you already have an answer, so you're prepped. And since you're prepped, you're not in the panic mode. You're not doing some drastic changes right in the spot.
That's right.
Sometimes you can, but at least you have a plan, right? You have
Yeah.
some kind of a blueprint of what to do
Yes.
when that happens, right? So
Yeah.
that's perfect. I mean, it's so good that I'm talking to a psychologist for a change,
Well,
because
you have a great understanding.
it's not typical, but
If you've applied it to your business, because you want that fight or flight to be minimized, right? And to
yeah,
calm it down rather than it just overreacts. And you're right, we're built that way for obvious reasons, right? To protect ourselves and to continue the species. So the more you can, not just intellectually, but emotionally,
yeah,
we
it's all about
call it
emotion. Yeah,
even inoculation, emotional inoculation. You get used to something, then when it really happens, it's not so upsetting, right?
yeah.
You've thought yourself through the problem, just as you said. I've
Hmm.
imagined what could be the bad, what could be the good, and I've gotten myself wrapped around it, and I feel very confident the good is coming. So I'm glad to hear your system works that way. Very psychologically savvy.
Yeah, that's, as I said, the trading is all about psychology. So I actually am studying mostly psychology. I don't have a degree in psychology. I have, you probably never guess what kind of degree I have. It's nuclear physics.
Oh
Okay,
my
so I'm a
goodness.
nuclear physicist. Okay, so I'm completely different, but I have a lot of statistical background because
Yeah,
of this. But
science.
I use the statistical background to apply to my psychological, now new background, so that I can trade it more properly and anticipate what can happen, because you can never really know what's going to happen in the market, but
Right.
you can always prep yourself what's going to happen, so that way you can calm down and make rational decisions instead of irrational decisions.
True.
That's because what we are wired to do. We're
Right.
usually wired to do irrational decisions. You will
Yes.
hold on to your losing trade just because you think that it's going to come back up, and you
Yeah.
don't want to be proven wrong, that
Yeah.
you made a wrong decision, right?
Right. Right.
But as soon as there is a profit, you will try to get out, because you, again, are fearful that you're going to lose whatever you made, right? So you kind of come out, you do the opposite of what the trading is. In the opposite, you need to get out as soon as there is a problem,
Yeah.
and stay for as long as you can when there
And
is a good
right.
good
Even if
side
it
is happening,
continues
right?
up.
So
Exactly.
yes,
Exactly.
so it's like literally reversal of the psychology.
Exactly. It's the reversal of what the natural inclination
Yeah,
is.
not all inclinations are. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So very, very smart. And giving people, hand holding them through that experience so they get comfortable with it is what you're doing, right? So they can see
yeah,
it. I like the fact that you didn't push all systems on them at once. You allow them to, because there is a growth opportunity for people, right? To get accustomed to change, get accustomed to risk. And you're
hmm,
taking advantage of that. You're being mindful of that as opposed to it all happening at once. Very smart.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like the same thing. If somebody doesn't know how to swim, yes, you can throw them into the pool and somehow they will swim out with all kinds of PTSD after that.
Yeah.
Like my dad did it for me. He threw me into the ocean first time, and I swam out, and I was avoiding him for years after that.
Right. Because of that.
Didn't want to get close to him on the beach. So, but you can prep them how to get there, and then they will swim out on their own
Right.
normally,
Right.
naturally, without that much fear. right?
Right.
That's the same idea. We're trying to ease them in so then they can actually swim in that ocean more normally
Or normally, and with
instead of
yeah,
yeah,
because you're confident, you know what'll happen. I agree.
yeah.
Having confidence drives so much, and that's one of the things we have to work on as human beings. How do we build that into other? I see that working that into my employees, giving them more
Hmm.
confidence. And as you just said earlier, pats on the back are an important part of that. So I'm glad to hear you've applied it in your business as well. So that's great.
Yeah, because I mean, monetary is good, but it's not it. It's like some people require feeling of belonging,
Yes.
feeling of the part of the something greater than what they do. So their work is just not the chore,
Yeah.
but something that they want to do because it feels not good. It
It
feels
feels good.
nice,
Yeah,
right?
it's good. What we call an
Yeah,
intrinsic reward as opposed to
yeah.
extrinsic like money. And you're right, feeling like that's why we're focused on doing well by doing good. We've actually gotten people to stop vaping and more people to read and talk to their children, which we know will
Mm-hmm.
shape their brains. And we've been able to sell low cost auto insurance to people who were driving without insurance. So we know we've made a difference in people's lives. That's our nobler cause that keeps my employees engaged. It's not just about the money, it's about the impact you have on the world.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Sounds very fascinating, but I mean, I know you're very busy with your company, so um, to leave on the good note, so why don't you just again describe what your company does and maybe how they can reach you if somebody I know you're working with bigger clients, more established, so less of a startups, but just in case, who
Oh,
knows, maybe
yes.
somebody is watching it from executive from a bigger company and they may want to talk to you, right? So why don't you explain how they can reach you and they can wrap it up for today
I will do that. So it's
then.
Fraser Communications, Fraser, and they can reach me at rfraser@frasercommunications.com. That's my
Yeah.
email, Renee Fraser, rfraser@frasercommunications.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, and we do integrated campaigns for mid-sized companies as well. The right
Hmm.
use of
Hmm.
digital social influencers, radio and outdoor lift digital advertising when applied properly. We know how to do that and to
Hmm.
drive your cost of acquisition down. So we're very effective at not just the messaging, but the mode of which the ways in which we reach people. The other thing to think about is you can find me on Spotify, the Dr. Renee Fraser Show. I interview
Hmm.
successful people to learn their secrets to success and their biggest challenges, the mistakes they made. So we can all learn from them and be inspired.
Yeah. Sounds good. Sounds
Yeah,
good.
thank you.
So, yeah, really appreciate you joining for today. I know you took like, a little bit of like, more time than probably you wanted from your very busy life, but I very appreciate the conversation, and especially again, it was right in my alley of the psychology
Technology.
portion, which I really like.
I
So,
enjoy it. Thank
yeah,
you, Alexei. I
really enjoy it.
enjoyed talking with you. Good luck with the podcast. Look forward
Okay.
to hearing
Th-
from some of the listeners. Bye bye now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, thanks you.